Big thanks to the Small Business Development Center for sponsoring The Vault at 201 North Broadway. The SBDC is an incredible resource for small business owners, offering free one-on-one counseling, business plan support, market research, financial projections, and much more. Whether you're just starting out or looking to grow, they're here to help your business succeed. Reach out to us at bigsky.economicdevelopment.org.
God has gifted us to be a part of a great community that has just so much going for it, and just be a part of helping it grow and become even something more special for the next generation.
The following is a Big Sky Economic Development production.
It's Mars B.
And Kavo.
And this is The Vault at 201 North Broadway.
A business podcast
where we bring you entrepreneurs, small business owners, and community leaders of Montana.
You don't want to miss this.
Learn how to better start, manage, and grow your business.
And your leadership style.
Tangible takeaways to save you time and improve whatever it is that you're working on.
You're listening to The Vault.
Joining us today in The Vault is Steve Arveschoug. Our first episode with Steve was episode 14, but this is a special episode for us at BSED, as Steve will be retiring after over 16 years as the executive director of Big Sky Economic Development. So today we're going to talk with Steve about leadership, economic development, lessons learned, and future opportunities.
If I remembered which button did the clapping, I would have hit it for you.
But who knows? It could have been like a womp womp womp.
We could all kind of clap and add our own background.
Exactly.
We can do that.
Yes.
You know, I'm feeling like I've created this awkward moment for everybody, because you're not sure how to say, well, it's more than 16 years, but it's not quite 17 years. So
you didn't
how to
land
describe
on
that?
like
I should have waited till August.
Yes.
It was 17.
That was poor planning, Steve.
I'm so sorry. And then I chose April 15th as my last day, and everybody goes, wait a minute, Steve, that's tax day. So I lost all value in having a day that's special because everybody's rushing to get their taxes
done. Oh,
I would say mine are done, but
anyway.
I always try to get mine done early.
Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yes.
Yeah. So reflecting on your over 16 years with Big Sky Economic
Nearly
Development.
17.
Close to 17. What are some of the most transformative projects that you were part of that stand out to you over these past 16 and a half years? Like that were like memory moments.
Okay. I'm not listing this in any sort of area
chronological
of
order.
It's just like, things that come to mind for me. I think if I look early in the process, well over a decade ago, we pulled a group of people together around a table and said, are we prepared to meet the needs of our future workforce? You know, our business community has needs for workers. Are we collectively working together to help accomplish that? And at that time, we weren't. And we launched BillingsWorks. And that conversation continues, big round table every quarter. People are coming together, private sector, educators, and saying, hey, are we meeting that need? And the need kind of ebbs and flows a little bit, but now we're in this stage as a community, as maybe even a country, where demographically we're getting older and shifting, and so the workforce is getting tighter and tighter. I feel so proud that we started that important conversation with important partners years and years and years ago. That's pretty darn cool.
That is really
2014,
cool.
I think.
Is that when it was?
I think that's what the timeline says. I'm pretty sure.
All right. Well, I'll go with that. Another one that comes to mind, I was at a staff planning session. It was right after they opened that water park in the Heights.
The Oasis.
The Oasis. Yeah, and they have a little community room there, and we did staff planning there. And
that'd be cool.
And I was in the middle.
It's pre-us, obviously.
The water part was not open. Okay,
well,
you can't go splash around during a staff planning thing, but we did a staff planning there.
Falls, you know what I'm saying?
And then I got a call from GE Capital. Now, we had a GE Capital Center here.
Yes.
And we had built this great building for them. When I came on board, the building was under construction, and the team was leading that whole process. We own the building. We built it to the specifications of GE Capital, state-of-the-art facility. If you haven't been there, You should get a tour because it was a beautiful project and it was employing people. And then all of a sudden the call on that April, whatever day it was in April of that year, said, hey, Steve, I need to give you a heads up, but the press release is coming out. We're closing several GE capital operations across the country, and one of them will be Billings, Montana.
Oh, man.
And so that was in the middle of a staff planning, and I come back and I said, hey, we've got some work to do. We just got some news. We're going to lean in and respond to that. Out of that very difficult news, let me take an aside and say we owed money on the building to the state and a bank. And so they were super nervous about, hey, are you going to be able to pay the debt off? And that I said, do not worry. We got this. And we leaned in and we worked with GE and did a lease settlement agreement. We netted some money from that. We paid off our debt to the bank and the state. We ended up selling the building to Zoot. And they're right now kind of repurposing that as they grow as an organization and go through the ebb and flow of being fintech and then medtech and other things that they're doing. They own it now. Long story short, we came out of that with over $6 million net, and we put that into our opportunity fund, and that's a tool that we use to do other exciting things for this community, including the building we're in now. We used a little bit of that money to help build this out and create the Center for Entrepreneurship called Rock 31. And so we got bad news. We leaned in, we solved problems, we turned it into something really special. And I remember signing an agreement with Zoot when they purchased the building at an annual meeting with Governor Steve Bullock. And we had this little press signing where we signed the building over to him, and it was this big to-do kind of thing. But it didn't start out that way. It started out with this phone call, and they just pulled the rug out from underneath us, and we had to turn that into, and we did something special for the community.
We made lemonade.
We did. It was a good. We made Arnold Palmer's.
We made Arnold Palmer's.
You gotta put a little bit.
I love Arnold Palmer's.
I do too. It was so good. So you have that, and then I just think about the literally millions of dollars that flow through this organization in lending, in government contracting, in capital infusion, for businesses in Yellowstone County, in our region, and even across the state. And you just think of, in the course of time I've been here and the organization's been, we've pushed a lot of resources into the community that has really helped businesses grow. And that's not a Steve thing, that's a us thing. And so that's been really special to be a part of that.
Yeah, we do a lot of work here at Big Sky.
What would you say were the key factors that made those big projects so successful?
I think it's a matter of seeing the end. What is this going to look like when we're done? And being, because you're gonna have side trips, and if you have a conversation with me, you go on a few side trips, but you'll have bumps and you'll have controversy, and you're gonna have people you have to convince, and you'll run into roadblocks. And I think it's just keeping your eyes focused on when we get this done. This is an exciting opportunity for the community. Stay focused on the why you're doing it, what you're trying to accomplish with it. And then I think it's leaning into each day. So we can have this big lofty thing we're trying to accomplish, and really what that comes down to is showing up to work and doing what we know, doing those incremental things that we know can lead to success, and staying committed to those incremental things and not letting the big thing weigh you down.
So we've talked about some of those successful projects, but were there, just over your timeline of, we'll say 17 years, were there projects or initiatives, which I know there were maybe a few that didn't move forward for our organization and or for the community? And then my second question to that is, what did we as a community learn from those experiences?
Okay. I think there's still a lot of things in progress. I think we're in the heart of downtown. I remember when our board decided, okay, Steve, we agree, team, let's go buy that building, we'll redevelop it. We were contributing to the redevelopment of downtown, and we were kind of purposeful in that. We're going to pick a place right in the heart of town, and we're going to repurpose it and bring it to life, and we did that. And I think that work feels undone, but in progress. And it's so important for the community to see the value in having a strong, vibrant core and we've got great opportunities ahead. And we, Katie and her team, Matt, they do such great work. We partner with them well. And so that feels like a work in progress. We're not where we want to be yet. It's really exciting to feel where we could be and see where we could be. But it's still the work that needs to be done. So that one, I think people might say, I got this question the other day when I spoke at Rotary, Steve, what about One Big Sky? We spent a lot of time and energy and sweat and tears, and I don't know if there was any blood involved, but
hopefully not.
There might have been
blood, sweat, and tears.
Paper cuts, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, those books were big.
Yeah,
so maybe.
they were. And we created this vision for what the development of downtown could look like. And people got fixated on, we're going to build this one big tower, because that's how that conversation started. But by the time we were done, we created this beautiful, thoughtful master plan for the redevelopment of downtown. But we needed a funding tool. We had to pay for infrastructure. We needed a way to fund the infrastructure that could support the new private investment. And I actually think the tool we created, very similar to tax increment financing, it would have used the new tax revenue that comes from new private investment, grab a portion of that and use it to pay for the infrastructure that's needed to support private investment. Sounds a lot like tax increment financing. And we moved that concept too quickly, late in the session. We just moved too quick. People need to remember that the master plan concept was approved by city council. They said, yeah, we like conceptually, this kind of makes sense to us. But then when we got to the nitty gritty, now we need to go develop a tool. It takes years to do that through a legislative process. And I wouldn't say I was naive, because I have some experience in that. I knew what that process looked like. It's kind of there's that nagging thing in your head saying, we're going to do this, but I know we've kind of created this handicap for ourselves because of the timing and because we were moving too quickly. And it takes our community and even the state, I would argue, a long time to kind of embrace new concepts, new ideas. And we didn't give ourselves the time we needed to do that well. Looking back, I think I probably needed to say, hey, we're going to develop the master plan. Absolutely makes sense. Then let's start tackling it incrementally, maybe work on the tool conceptually over the course of 1, 2, or even 3 legislative sessions. And I think we would have made a lot more progress. I will say this, though, the development you're seeing happen now, housing downtown, other things that we're working on, what's happening is we're grabbing those concepts one at a time and partnering people, talking to developers, encouraging them, talking to landowners, partnering, using tax increment financing. You're starting to see those kind of conceptualized projects happen one at a time. And we're kind of a one at a time, one step in front of the other. Let's take this incrementally kind of community and even state. And so wisdom has taught me, if we're going to build the wall, it takes a brick at a time. And my job each day is to lay some bricks. And so that, lessons learned.
I think that's good. And it reminds me just of some of the stuff Kevin talked about at our annual meeting. Of the history of Billings and just how it one thing kind of added at a
Kevin.
time.
What a gift to our community Kevin was. And Kevin Koistra we're talking about, and he spoke at our annual meeting and just laid out, he used history to aspire our future. That's the way I would look at that.
Yeah.
So powerful.
So lots of really good lessons learned. So we want to jump more into you talking about Billings, some of the projects Big Sky's done, but how has your leadership evolved over the years while you've been here at BSED?
Do I have any leadership? I don't know. I get up every day and just try and work hard. I think if I had to point at one thing, a couple of things. One, I try and be a learner. So I want to be thinking of things and ideas and learning more. And so I want to be kind of that constant learner. That's super important, I think, for any leader, any of us, right? I never wanted to be kind of stagnant in my thinking. I wanted to grab new ideas, look at new data. That's why every time That's why every time DCI would come out with their Talent Wars report, I would dive into that. What are they saying? You know, what do people think about how do you attract talent? And that just drives more ideas and thinking. So that's important. I even today have that quest for let's learn, let's grow, how can my thinking be changed and I can grow in what I understand. So that's one thing that's important that I don't think has changed in my leadership. I feel like it's accelerated over the years. Like the more I know and the more I understand, the more expertise I develop, the more I can be used in a way that impacts our community in a thoughtful way. And then, Marcel, I'm going to confess that early on in my leadership career, and I've been an executive director for 30 years. This year marks 30 years.
So at least you're ending on an even note in some capacity.
Us people with OCD really appreciate that.
30 years, yeah.
Like a final number, yeah.
So I got my first job. I worked for a board of directors running wasn't my very first job, but my first big leadership role was the GM of the Southeastern Colorado Water Conservancy District. It was a multi-county water resource development and project, and we partnered with the Bureau of Reclamation, and we built and sustained water projects for municipal use and agricultural use. 15 board members, all representing those 9 counties, and here's Steve. All right, I gotta lead up, and I have to lead down, and I have to create vision, and here we go. And so I would say early on, it was all about the task. I got 15 things I got to do. I'm going to plow through it. I'm going to work hard. I'm going to show up early. And I expected everybody else to look and feel and act like Steve. And so it became more of looking at the team as in a utility context, like, Kayla's a hammer and Marcel's a screwdriver. And when I need them, I'm going to grab them. And that was not smart. It didn't demonstrate a sense of care and understanding that we are whole people when we come to work, and we have creativity, and we also have a thirst for learning. And I just had to learn the hard way that I needed to start with my heart, and I needed to care about the people that I was responsible to lead and be a part of a team.
I think I've only ever experienced that here. Was that you genuinely care about your staff.
Oh, thanks, Kayla.
You're
That's
welcome.
not always.
I think that's the Steve we've experienced because we've been here for
I've been almost 6 years.
6.5.
Okay, well, I can feel good that my more recent history is a little bit better. But you asked what lesson I learned. I think that's part of what I learned. Now, still got to get work done, and I mean, there's still things that have to be done. But man, you can come alongside your team and help them grow while they're impacting the work of the organization.
You've cultivated a really strong team here, and you're very deliberate in your interviewing process. What are qualities that you look for that you know that this person's going to be a good fit for the organization?
Some people would say that our hiring process is torturous.
Well,
and frankly, we've had to modify that because it moves kind of slow. It's kind of committee, and you got to have multiple interviews. But I think I can't remember who says this, but you hire slow and fire fast. And I think our process is not designed to respond to that encouragement, but it's just respond to be thoughtful and deliberate. So what do I look for? Patrick Lencioni says you want to hire people that are hungry, humble, and smart. And I think in some respects, I think that's what we're looking for. Are they anxious to be a contributor? Are they excited about being here? And so that's that hungry, man, I want to grow. I have something to contribute. I want to be a part of the work that we do in the organization. The humble part is harder to realize in an interview, because everybody's putting their best foot forward. You really never know.
You're trying to sell yourself.
Yeah, well,
you have to
and
a
be
little
humble
bit.
at
And
the
be
same
humble,
time.
I'm great, but I understand that.
Yeah,
Other
but
people
it's
are
just
greater.
people that realize it's not about me. It's about what we do together. And so having a sense of humility about, I'm going to be part of a team that accomplishes this, so it's not the Steve show. People would laugh. Everything's the Steve show. My wife says that. But you do want someone that is hungry to learn and grow and contribute, someone that brings a sense of humility, not taking themselves too seriously. And then they got to have chops, right? They got to be smart. They got to dive in and learn, and they have to have a thirst for learning. They have to bring some talent to bear. And so I would say, just thinking of our team, I think we embody that. And that's what we're looking for.
I think you set the tone for it. I think leaders set the tone for the organization. So kind of staying on that team conversation, how do you inspire and empower your team? Just normally, but also during like more challenging times that organizations go through. Even something as little as us moving into this building, which was kind of a big deal, but it's a lot.
Or even as something as big as COVID.
Oh, man, COVID.
We all chuckle at it now.
No.
We're like,
5 years.
I actually, if you ask me some things I'm proud of how we leaned into that, stayed engaged for the sake of our business community, and led really important ongoing I don't know how many Zoom calls we did, hundreds of Zoom calls.
A lot.
We'd have 50 plus business leaders, sometimes educators, a lot of times health. We pulled our health sector and our business sector together and said, we're going to stay open and safe. How do we accomplish both? John Felton was really good, chief health officer of the community. Health is what he was all about, but he got the other side of that. Staying open was healthy in many respects for us being able to move through this. So I got off on a tangent. That's how we kind of came together, and a lot of great partnerships, the Chamber, that our Billings Clinic, St. Vincent, Riverstone Health, and then we had 40 or 50 business leaders in their community that would join a weekly Zoom call and express to us, here's what's going on in my world, here's how we can fix it. We used that to try and influence some of the decision-making around COVID money and how it was used, and just that good conversation. We came up with the open and safe branding pieces and
website, I think,
and training for businesses so they knew what to expect, what the health department needed them to do. That was was that a great team effort. So what was your question, Kayla, at that?
So Marcel asked, well, how do you inspire and empower your team?
I think it's just what I've kind of described. I think we had that end goal. And that end goal was, we're here to serve the community. So what does the community need from us now? And it was really hard. Some of us were working remotely. I didn't. I felt like I was in my bunker in the granite tower every day.
A larger bunker, yeah.
Yeah. And I just think it's, all right, what are we trying to accomplish? Staying focused on that objective is really important. And then I think filling gaps, like, how can I help? Where do you need me to lean in? What do you need from me right now? Constantly asking that question is really helpful. And then I think as a leader, you gotta, it's old cliche, but you gotta lead by example. So you have to show up, you have to be there, you have to work hard. Your people need to see that you'll do anything you're asking them to do. So you're working side by side with them. I think that that is very helpful, speaks volumes for a team's ability to kind of move through challenges. And I think we as an organization move through challenges pretty darn good.
I would agree, but I'm biased.
Yeah,
We're all in it.
We all are.
Learn from
We've got our pimples
moments.
we need to take care of.
Yeah, we've definitely
I wasn't
had our
talking about
moments.
anybody in particular.
Yeah, Kayla. No, I'm just kidding.
I won't wear the roller skates anymore. I'm sorry. Can you share an example where you had to make a difficult leadership decision, and how did you come to that decision?
Over your 30 years, it just doesn't have to be
it doesn't have to be just
the 16 and a half.
Well, we've hired people, but when sometimes it doesn't work out. And so you have to make a decision and I'm slow to make that decision because I want to give people a chance. And I always I try to assume the best in people. Like, they have the same intention I do. So let's get on the same page together and and accomplish what we need to. It's not always the case. And so that's been hard to know when to say enough is enough. And I am, I could probably have done a better job to move quicker sometimes with that, but sometimes it doesn't work out. That's tough. I think more recently, though, we as an organization were in need of change and restructuring. And so we developed a new leadership structure for the organization. And it was way past due, but we all got comfortable. And I say Steve got comfortable, but it just wouldn't continue to flourish. And it definitely wasn't healthy for succession of the organization and building a bench and encouraging new leadership in the organization. I used to have all the program leaders report to Steve.
Which was a lot, like 11.
So if you looked at our
Holy
org
buckets.
chart, we had all those people reporting to me. And I knew it was a challenge because I had talked to the board about, hey, at some point we're going to have to make a change. But in my mind, I was thinking, at some point, this is not about Steve. And Steve's not even going to be here, which is about to happen. So we better get on this path to change. So the first thing we did is we developed a succession plan. We started talking about what the future is going to look like. And in my mind, I knew part of that is we had to evaluate what our structure looked like. So it took us a while, took us a couple of years. And then finally I went to the board and said, we've got to get serious about restructuring. It is going to require some more resources. We have to rethink what that structure looks like and where we're headed. And so we pulled together a group of board members, which was great. And I had the board members hire Karen Gross to facilitate the process. So Steve couldn't get in the way and slow things down or, hey, let's think about that. Or I need more data. They said, no way, and so we purposely did that. I pulled together some really smart board members, put them together with Karen. We defined our objectives first and said, what are we trying to get to? We're trying to get to building a structure that we think supports stronger leadership for the organization, supports leadership succession, helps build capacity in the organization. But that was hard because it meant change for a lot of people. And I struggled internally with that, just knowing it was going to impact other people. And then we had some hiring decisions, and that was tough on us. Jen Kobza came to one of our last committee meetings, and she put a box of Band-Aids on the table. And I said, all right, what is that? She said, Steve, we're about ready to wrap up this process. I need to give you this gift. And I said, well, what? Okay, tell me. I need you to pull the bandage off and just hit go. Mm-hmm. I still have that box so if you guys get a cut, I've got a whole box of Band-Aids ready for you. But that was a great analogy, and she was absolutely right. Okay, I just have to do it. It's going to hurt. And so that was a tough decision. And we're still in our growth cycle, I think. That's been 2 years plus ago.
22.
Yeah.
Well, it was when we kind of implemented it, but you were planning it, I think, 21, 22.
Yeah, so it wasn't an overnight thing, but once we looked at this and we got approval from the board, I was told to tear off that bandage and get going. So we did, but it was hard on people.
About a direction from the board.
Yep.
Yeah. So that leads me into wanting to talk about, no one gives you like a here's how you retire book or how to do it. And I think you've just done it very gracefully. But I know there's been a lot of, like, that decision was made before we found out after the annual meeting this past year. Can you talk a little bit about that and how you approached it, knowing when you were going to do it, announce it, and handle it? I
don't know that I have a perfect scenario, although one of our board members said this has been the absolute best leadership transition process I've ever been a part of. I don't know. Maybe leaders don't transition very often, and so we're not sure how we do it. So I don't know how well it is. I think we'll look back and realize, oh, this we did well. This maybe we could have done different, and which is fair. I think it starts in the leader's head. So I know you could go grab books. You can go online right now and find podcasts that'll probably tell you, what are some of the keys of being an effective leader. part of what you'll hear in that is you got to be planning for your succession. But who does that? I mean, it doesn't just happen, and because you get so wound up in the day-to-day stuff and you're excited about what you're accomplishing. And so, you need to do that, but it just kind of gets pushed to the side. So for us, it really started several years ago when we drafted our first succession plan. And then we did the restructuring. And then I told the board, now we're going to update the succession plan because we've learned things from the first plan through the restructuring. And when we did the update, we added elements that were directly to the point. When Steve is gone, how do we fill that position and what the process looks like? And so I started doing homework for that well over a year ago. I reached out to executive search firms and I said, talk to me about your process. How does it work? How long does it take? What does a successful search process look like? Who should be on the committee? Who shouldn't be on the committee? And then when the board voted several months ago, almost a year ago now, I think, when they voted to readopt our succession plan, I had that information baked in the plan, including contact information for the search firm. And all the plan was missing was a date. So, and it had steps in the process. It talked about the committee. And then I just needed, at some point, you were going to get a date from Steve saying, hey, this will be my last day. And then you pull out the plan and you start working with that end in mind, right? And the end is to have a great transition, a new leader for the organization, a good exit. And I think we were just deliberate to think of all the steps in the process and work our plan.
And how did you know, like, aside from age, because I know like there's certain things that kick in when you turn certain ages, right? Like when you're 18, you can buy cigarettes or whatever, and you're 20. Do you know what I mean? But
21, you can adopt children.
That was random.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just thinking of like the age thing.
So, a camel.
So how did you know like it was the time? I mean, I know you were working on the succession plan, but like what in your mind was like, it's time to retire? Because that's a big decision when you've been in the role as long as you've been in it.
People ask me now, do you regret deciding to retire? And my straight up answer is no, I don't. I'm going to miss the hell. Can I say that?
Yeah.
On the podcast?
People have said way worse. So.
Okay, good. I've heard that actually. I've heard that there's some bleeps maybe you need to put in a few of these things.
We just mark it as explicit.
So no, I feel I made a good decision at the right time. Now, apparently I should have done a few more months so it would be 17 and not this funky 16 3/4 or whatever it is. But no, I feel like for myself and for the organization, this is a good time. So how do you know that? I think I know it I'm still I get up every day and I'm so excited about where our community is and where it's going. So that's good. That part's going to be hard for me as I get out of the way. So it wasn't like, I'm not interested in this work any longer. It was more of, I've given so much of myself to this. And I always told myself, I want to walk across the finish line, not stagger and fall face first across the finish line. I wanted there to be something left in me, in my brain, and my energy, and so that I could have some left over for my wife and my kiddos and my church community and whatever is next for Steve. And so for me, it was, is there a timing where I think I can exit feeling good about where the organization is, having gas in the tank to seize the next chapter. And so that's kind of the ingredients that went into making that decision. And then I turned, last December, I turned what I already told you guys in October, but I knew I had a birthday coming up, and yeah, those add up after a while. And you look at that and go, man, before I know it, I'm going to be 70, and they're not going to want me hanging around here when I'm 70 with my walker or something. I don't know.
I think people age very differently, but wow. Okay. And And then when you telling the team and telling everyone, what was that process like?
Well, I had to map it out. So now you're going to get the inside story. But
Right.
in August, I pulled together our 2 board chairs and our 2 vice chairs in a meeting that I called mid-year check-in on their calendar invite. And
They did not know what they were getting themselves into.
It's funny. We walked into that meeting, though, and I can't remember if it was Debbie or somebody. They said, "We haven't had a mid-year check-in with you before. What's this all about?" And I said, "Okay." And maybe it was the end of September. I don't remember when. Anyway,
I think it was August.
Yeah, it was August. Yeah. And I pulled them in. I said, "Okay." I did update them on some stuff that, where we were with things. But I said, "I'm going to give you a date." And I had created this outline for them, like here, on the top of it, gave them my final date. And then I said, okay, here are now the next 15 steps in our process. And included in those steps were when we were going to talk to whom about the date. So executive committee, board, staff, partners, public, et cetera, all that was kind of outlined in a process. And so after that meeting, we looked at each other and said, okay, our next step really is we have to inform the executive committee because they're kind of my immediate management responsibility. I answer to that executive committee in lieu of the whole board sometimes. And so they kind of govern me as an employee. And so I needed to get them involved in that. But we have public meetings. And so because it was a personnel matter, I could go into executive session. But I knew the minute I went into executive session, then the buzz on the 3rd floor is going around like, what the heck? Steve has had 2 executive sessions in the last couple of months. Something's about to happen. And then obviously after the conversation with the executive committee in September, we had to work on some more details. And that's when we started to work on the details of the search committee. And I knew, I don't know if people want to hear this. I'm looking around like it's a secret still. I knew who I wanted on the search committee. I called Chancellor Hickswa even before I talked to the board chairs. Now they're going to get really mad at me. And I said, Stephanie, you will be the only one to know this, but I need you, when it happens, I need you to agree to chair the search committee. And I picked her because of her experience hiring people. She's on the search committee for the president of Montana State University right now. And she's done that. She's been a part of it.
You were on her search committee.
I was on the search committee when they hired her. And so I knew she knew the process. And she has such a great professional presence and demeanor and knowledge. And she can walk people through a process with confidence. So she said, Steve, once you get the green light from the board chairs and to go through the process, I am honored to step up. And then I built out a list of who else I thought, and we consulted with the executive committee and then made our recommendation in October and to the board. But you guys remember I talked to the senior leadership team, which are you still mad at me for that, Marcel?
Well,
and then I had to talk to the staff. So there were steps in a process that I think we mapped out pretty darn well, and we just followed that plan.
Yeah, I think you have done a nice job. Sad. I'm not mad. I'm sad. So I think that's different. But you've talked about Stephanie and some of our board chairs, and you've mentioned some of the partners. One of our strategic priorities is champion collaboration, which I think you've been doing your entire career. But if you want to talk a little bit about that, I think that we heard it yesterday on Voices of Montana. We've heard it with Jim Atchison, others across the state, locally, that people just really look to you as a leader, not only here locally, but across the state and across our region.
Well, I think very few successes in life are a solo act. And that's so true for the work that we do. We're about building a community. You can't do that by yourself. We're about helping businesses thrive and see an economy move forward. That is not a game that you play as a single player. So I think we've always, as a team, embodied that, hey, if we're going to be successful, we got to do it as a team and it's a team that's bigger than just our team. And so that's an important step going forward. I think the other piece to that, to me, is that relationships matter. And when you build this big, broader table of people, you're going to get different ideas and thoughts and strategies, and you're not always going to agree, but we're always going to work to preserve the relationship, even when it gets hard. And I've had people step on my toes a lot at times, but I have to go, okay, there's something bigger than my feelings at play, and I've got to, it's important. You know, you want to deal with that stuff up front, but you got to be able to move through it and past it and preserve the relationship, because you can't get work done if you don't invest in those relationships. So I feel so blessed to have great working relationships all over the state. It was so awesome to have Jim Atchison call in, my buddy from Colstrip, who is such a, what an angel he's been for that community. Just
that region,
just steadfast, positive person that's done nothing but promote and help build this community through a lot of really tough stuff. And I could pick colleagues throughout the state who are doing the same thing for their respective communities. So just cool to be a part of that fraternity of folks that work hard every day to build their community.
Steve, what would you say is the difference in leading in economic development versus other industries, other sectors?
Well, I call us the Communities Economic Development Organization because we have that we're a public-private partnership as Big Sky Economic Development. We have this quasi-public side because we're a trade port authority created by the county commissioners. That's an automatic nexus to the public sector. And then we have this not-for-profit corporate side that's made up of 160 private sector companies in our community that also want to see the community grow economically. And so we naturally are at that same table together, public and private partnership. So we're wired to approach things from those two perspectives. And our job then is to kind of melt those together, because the objective, public or private, is to see our community thrive and grow economically, build a quality of life. And so I think, as I think about that, I think you can be an industry leader. Relationships are important in that context as well. But I really feel we have a broader calling and responsibility to our community, which is different than the private sector, they have definitely a calling and a responsibility to their team, to the customers that they serve. And they want to be responsible citizens in their community. So I'm not discounting that at all. It's just we have everybody in the community looking at us. They all contribute to the work that we do. Man, that's a level of responsibility that's different. And it's really is a calling.
That's awesome. There's
a lot, which you talk about the calling, and I think your Gallup leading domain is strategic. Just going to toss that out there. We've come to really like Gallup as a team.
I do.
We've come to love
Marcel
the assessment.
Has convinced me. It took her a while.
It did. But you're a very strategic thinker, visionary. So talk to us a little bit about that process for you while also sticking with that day-to-day, things got to get done work.
The day-to-day things got to get done happens from our executors. I'm looking at some of them right in this room. So I've learned also the hard way that I need to surround myself with people who are get it done folks. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I think it's pronounced get her done.
Get her done.
Or if we're referring our stickers.
Or it's the sticker, the get stuff done.
Yeah.
It's the get stuff done people. So I need those people. And I think that's what makes the team so that we complement each other. We fill those kind of gaps. For me, I show up every day and think of how can it be better? What could it look like if we did this? Oh, I see this opportunity. You know, I look at the vacant lot on 27th and 6th.
Oh, yeah, me too.
And I go, that is going to be so beautiful. A mixed-use development, you have some residential, and then some retail along the side. We'll get the Gazette building out of the way. That one
do something with it.
I don't mean anything bad about the Gazette, but it just got to get out of the way. And and it's just the potential. And so I like to think about what things could look like as we do our best to improve. But you can't live. I mean, you can't day to day. You got to get stuff done. But I want to be working toward. I don't want to just get stuff done because it's the same task list that we've had for 10 years. I want to get stuff done that we can look back and go, look how that impacted the community.
Yes.
I think you've done that, like the building that we're in, Rock 31. That wasn't on the Big Sky plan.
That was a journey to get there.
So you guys,
and it kind of, to be honest with you, started in in a difficult time where we had energy companies in our community closing doors. And I remember sitting in the Granite Tower in my office, and I got a call from a regional office, and they said, "Hey, Steve, we were doing great things when the oil was booming, but now it's downturning. We got to relocate our whole team." It's like 100 people, all making six figures because engineers and et cetera. And they're downsizing, moving to Denver. And I thought, we have to stay diligent in diversifying our economy. And then it always used to bug me that, we have a research university in Bozeman, and there's some real economic value to have that because it allows them to cultivate some things in their community, and we don't get to take advantage of that. So I thought, let me back up. I think we do take advantage of that because when you look at our professional services sector here, we got lots of engineers, architects, professionals working in Billings. Yeah. So we do get the advantage of that. We're just not training them in our local community. So I want to correct the record on that. But I think where it all started, Rock 31 for me, was we have to be deliberate about working to diversify our economy, and maybe it needs to start from the inside out. We can work to attract companies, but they're looking for a special talent that maybe we don't have. So let's grow our own. How can we lean into what Billings is noted for? And we're noted for entrepreneurship, starting and running great businesses, and we're the business capital of our region and our state. Let's keep leaning into people that are trying to make that happen every day. That's why a strong small business development center and a strong lending program and a strong entrepreneurship focus through Rock 31 leans into a strength we have in the community. And that was kind of the vision behind let's get going on creating a place.
That's now called,
now called Rock 31.
Mm-hmm. We love that.
Which is, two of our floors here in the 201 North Broadway location.
We have over 60 businesses that operate in it.
That's pretty cool.
Isn't that
like
cool?
70 something.
So
yeah.
cool.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, over 60. So is there, thinking about Big Sky economic development in your time here, is there a particular moment or story that captures the essence of your time with BSED?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we're going to put it in a jar.
The essence.
The essence. And a candle. Can't we have that made?
A candle burning, yes. The essence of who we are. A story. Wow. We did some horrendous road trips to Helena back and forth in snowstorms for things to talk with the governor. And okay, I want to talk about a conversation with the governor. We had, regardless of who the governor is, we go to work with them because that's important. And that wasn't always the case. When I showed up, we had a Democratic governor, and I remember his director of economic development kind of pulled me aside. He was from Butte and said, we've checked into you, Steve. And this was 2008. I just come on board, and now I'm reconnecting with all these people. And you
spent time in Butte.
People, And he said, you were pretty conservative in the legislature in Colorado, and that's a part of me maybe people don't understand or don't remember or know. Maybe I haven't shared that. And so we're a little nervous about you, but you've got roots in Butte, so I think you're okay.
That Butte time really coming back for you.
Yeah, it's my time at Montana Tech, and then I married a girl from Anaconda, and that just never leaves you, right? So
honorary Montanan,
yeah, kind of. I'll hold on to my wife's coattails, and yes, me too. What was the question again?
You were talking about the governor, visiting the governor.
Yes, your essence.
So my point was we work with whoever's leading the state in that role because that's important. That's who we are. I remember taking a group of people to meet with Governor Gianforte and early on in his first term. And we wanted to see the development of a med school in Montana. And it was a good meeting that we had. And there was some controversy around, there was early controversy around how this would compete with WWAMI and et cetera, et cetera. And it's a private school and not public. And there had been attempts in the past to bring a College of Osteopathic Medicine to the state. And there was some internal state competition about what city is that going to go to. And so I knew going in, this is a big conversation, but it started with important local conversations, and Riverstone Health was really instrumental, St. Vincent, and even early on, having Billings Clinic in that conversation was really helpful. So we had a meeting in the governor's office, and the topic came up about RVU being private, not public. And I remember the governor saying, Steve, I love private sector investment. Let's do this. Maybe not with the same sarcastic tone that I had with you right now, but that was helpful. And then there was more controversy that spun out of that. It would have been real easy to give up. And it took a ton out of me. But we didn't give up. And we have a $60 million investment in Rocky Vista University, Montana College of Osteopathic Medicine. And now they're putting up the steel for I don't know what the final name will be, but it's RVU's Montana College of Veterinary Medicine.
That's huge.
That's a huge deal for our community. And so I think I don't share that story to say, look what I did. I just share it because, man, sometimes you just got to lean in and keep talking and keep working and keep building relationships. And you're going to and frankly, there's still work to do. I think there can be much stronger relationships for RVU and our local medical community and the medical community, but it just takes time. We've got hundreds of really smart young people pursuing a degree in medicine and living a dream that they want to serve other people with that gift and that talent and that knowledge that they're going to get from RVU. Part of that training involves clinical training with our local hospitals and hospitals around the region. And so that's pretty special to see our community blossoming, not just as a place for world-class healthcare, but a place for medical education. We have residency programs at Billings Clinic, St. Vincent, and Riverstone Health that are also training doctors. We have clinical training for nurses. My saying is, if you've been in a hospital anywhere in Montana and a nurse took care of you, they were probably clinically trained in Billings.
Probably.
It's just we train healthcare workers. And so that Rocky Vista University coming to town, making those private investments, just accelerates our identity as a regional hub for healthcare and a regional hub for medical education. That's pretty cool. But it took tremendous conversation, perseverance, and I think there's more conversation and partnerships yet to come.
And I would add, too, I think that, a legacy for Montana, it was Montana's first medical school, right, in Billings, and you were part of that, a huge part of that, and leading that way.
And Montana's first veterinarian school.
I know,
in
that's
the region.
So cool. And I have pets, so I don't have pets now. Oh,
do you want some?
Maybe an orange cat on your horizon, but I'd also say...
I need an orange cat if anybody's got one.
An orange little kitten.
No, I won't name him Garfield.
Just wondering.
A cute orange kitty cat. But I'd say, I also think for our students locally and in Montana to know, hey, I can go to school to become a doctor and I can do it all while staying in my home state of Montana, which I think is really powerful. We do a lot of work with RVU through BillingsWorks, what you talked about earlier. So I just think that's really powerful and exciting.
I would say the other thing that's really cool about the projects that you've worked on is that you've brought these businesses here to our community, but you've made them understand the value of our community, so they want to give back to it, versus just coming in and going, this is going to be great for me. Maybe cheaper costs. I can funnel students through. But our views really leaned into the community aspect, and that's because of what you showed them of our community.
And I think it's a testament to who they are and their character as well. Dr. Park, who's no longer the dean, but still in our community right now, just did a tremendous job leaning in, accepting his responsibility of being the founding dean, connecting with people in Billings all over the state, worked really hard. Now Dr. John Moore is taking over as dean. And then Dr. Forstein, who's the president of Rocky Vista University, they all have a community mindset. Hey, we're going to be a part of that community. Our students are going to be a part of that community. We need the community to be successful, just a part of their character. And I think they, in the whole process of building this opportunity in our community, Dr. Forstein especially recognized, hey, this wasn't a perfect process, and we own part of what the process looked like to develop this medical school. And they just accepted responsibility, built relationships, and have moved forward in a special way. And that speaks to their character. So we love people that want to come to the community and be a part of who we are, and they bring their character with them. And that's about, meeting their promises, doing hard work, and partnerships and relationships.
Well, Steve, thanks for being here with us today. Thanks for your dedication and service to the community and Big Sky economic development over the past 17 years. Normally we end each episode with a few rapid fire questions, but we have just a few special questions for you.
Oh, okay. Not rapid fire, but special.
Yeah, special. Right. So, what message would you like to leave with the team, partners, and the Billings community?
I guess the message for the team is to keep learning, growing, keep being the subject matter experts, lead with your yes. Be the organization that says, yep, we can do that. Yep, even when you're stretched and you don't feel like, on the talk show yesterday, I said something about my college football days, which I'm regretting right now because my knees are shot. But we had this coach that just kept pushing us. All right, one more rep, one more sprint, one more, run that play again. And he just got so much more out of us than we ever expected we could get out of ourselves. And we're an organization like that. So keep that, hold on to that spirit that says, yes, we can. Yes, we can. And maybe we're stretched, but so important, helps execute our mission. It adds value to the community. So lead with your yes. And I would tell the team also, I love the heck out of you guys. To the community, aspire to great things. When you walk out your front door every day, be very proud of the Billings community that you're a part of. And know that we have a great future ahead of us. Do we have problems? Yeah, we, like every community across the country, we have problems. But God has gifted us to be a part of a great community that has just so much going for it, and just be a part of helping it grow and become even something more special for the next generation.
I love that. My question for you is, if you had to describe your time at Big Sky with one word or phrase, what would it be?
I'm laughing because I don't do one word very well.
That's why we added phrase.
Could it be like a 10-sentence phrase? Or
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
Oh, man.
This is your time to shine, Steve.
I have an idea.
That is perfect,
very
Steve.
I have an idea.
And I would add to that, every day my best.
I love that too.
That's all I got for you.
I have an idea though is perfect.
Come in, or we're in your, I have an idea. Let's hear it.
Steve, it's been a pleasure having you lead us over my last 6.5 years.
It's been my honor, my pleasure as well. You guys have a great future ahead. I feel really good about where the organization is, where you're headed. Paul will do a fantastic job. Paul is not Steve, which is great. He dresses like
little more loud.
Yeah, you can see him coming. It's really good. It's really good. I'm a little sneakier, like a blue blazer.
We're going to have to play with our annual meeting dress code, I think, for Paul.
I don't know. Might rein that in a little.
I think let Paul be Paul, and he's going to do a really good, he brings some good experience, really can lean into the new business recruitment and private investment and move forward some of the things that we've been working on. And he gets the work that you guys do every day because he has that economic development experience leading the Department of Commerce. He has good relationships with leaders across the state. That'll be really valuable to the organization. So great things to come for Big Sky Economic Development and the communities we serve.
Thank you for everything.
Thank you.
Yep, thank you.
We hope you enjoyed this episode.
Make sure you are subscribed to The Vault at 201 North Broadway, wherever you podcast, including YouTube.
Connect with us on Facebook at The Vault at 201 North Broadway and Instagram at TheVault_201.
Don't forget to visit us at thevault@201.com and subscribe to our newsletter.
We will see you next time.
Bye.
Thank you to Big Sky Economic Development for supporting The Vault at 201 North Broadway. Big Sky Economic Development is the community's economic development organization. BSED's mission is to sustain and grow our region's vibrant economy and outstanding quality of life by providing leadership and resources for business creation, expansion, retention, new business recruitment, workforce development, and community development. Learn more and connect with BSED at bigsky economicdevelopment.org.